Hello, hello. Good afternoon, you beautiful humans. How are you? Let me know if you're listening live or if you're watching the replay. Okay. Again, my techie issues. All right. So today's subject is seasons of life. We all go through them, right? It's inevitable, just like seasons of the year. You cannot avoid summer, winter, spring, fall, right? They just happen. Our seasons of our life do not appear, you know, definitively like every 3, 4 months, like the calendar says, but depending on what's going on in our life. So, I'm going to tell you a proverb, a little story first that I hope you understand. There was a man who had 4 sons, and he wanted each of his sons to go look at this pear tree that was just, a great distance away. So the first son went to look at the pear tree in the winter. The second son went to go look at the tree in the spring, the third in the summer, and the fourth in the winter. When they all had come back sometime later, he called them in to describe what they had seen. The first son said he that the tree was ugly, bent, and twisted, and the second son that there said that there was um, covered with green buds and full of promise. The third son said it was laden with blossoms that smelled so sweet and looked beautiful. It was the most graceful thing he had ever seen. And the last son disagreed with all of them. He said it was ripe and drooping with fruit, full of life and fulfillment. So the man explained to his son that each of them were correct. They were all right because they had only seen that tree in that particular season. So just like you can't judge and make your final decision on a tree, just like when you see a person, um, and what they're going through isn't really necessarily the whole of them, right? So, seasons of life. We know the obvious ones, right? We're single, we're married, we're raising a family. There are other seasons of life that, God forbid, there's sickness, or I homeschool my granddaughter, and not to get off track, but one of the proverbs that she's memorizing is that a wise son gathers his crops in the summer and a foolish one is lazy in the harvest. So basically, this is like the same thing. So there are seasons in your life that you're going to be able to do so much more with your time, um, even with self care, right? The hours you can devote to yourself, like in your single years, you think you have no time at all until all of a sudden you're married and have kids, and then you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, I did have a lot of time and I thought it wasn't. Um, but you are going to have more time to yourself if you don't have a family or a very demanding job or a lot of responsibilities, a marriage, a house, what have you. If you're in a, I remember being in a 1 bedroom apartment and being able to clean it like super quick. And then when I moved into my house, I had a really big house and it took like forever. So our circumstances change depending on our season. So um, let me go through my notes here. There's different challenges in every season. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. Um, Seasons, like if you're a seasonal worker and like a construction worker, my ex-husband was a construction worker, and when he worked, the money was great. But if we didn't plan for the downtime, if we didn't reap that harvest, if we didn't gather in that harvest, we would not have enough money to sustain us for the winter, right? The winter of his season. So jobs have seasons as well, and you just have to plan to make it last. We have, like I said, seasons of singleness, and that's like the perfect season if you want to write a book, start building your successful career, find your ideal partner for marriage, start a business or a side hustle, spending time with friends, building relationships, devoting yourself to a cause bigger than yourself, and ultimately just working on yourself. Those are the perfect things to do in a single season. The season of marriage isn't about you anymore. You still have time, but you may be looking for a home or setting up a home, making big life decisions, career choices, location choices, whether or not to have kids now, later, or even not at all. And you just have to consider somebody else, your spouse, when you make these decisions. So, this would be a good time to figure out where you want to live, to get your house in order and make career decisions, attend even marriage seminars to work on your bond, so to work on that primary relationship, and to have an active social life and develop relationships with other couples. So you still have a lot of time, but you have to use it wisely and prepare. If you decided to have children, you know a child is coming, then you have the season of having children. This is probably the biggest change to your life, um, I would say. Drop me a comment. What was the biggest season or biggest change in your life? But I think having children is just like, no matter how much you prepare and plan and read, you know, it's just like, whoa, I have no time for myself. And this is when we often lose sight of ourselves and where our self care goes on the back burner and where it should not, because you're going to burn out, right? I always say don't burn out trying to keep your family warm. So, this is where you really have to be careful to keep yourself and your priorities in check. It's not saying that your children are not important, it's just saying that you need to put the oxygen mask first on yourself before you can help anybody else. So, in the beginning, when they are newborn and young and you come home from the hospital and you're like, how am I even going to cook? You can hardly get into time for a shower. And then thankfully, that is temporary. And then you manage and you learn and you get back into a rhythm and a routine. But it's still a different season because then they're starting school and you're learning how to manage their schedule, their school day routine, as well as your work routine and the house and taking care of your spouse. So hopefully you've planned for this season financially, but even if you haven't, it's not too late because you know having children that season is going to impact you financially. I don't know if you're still working or maybe you decided to become a stay-at-home mom. Either way, um, it's impossible to fully prepare, but advanced planning does help enormously. All right, so this is the perfect season to focus on your family, spend time together, get your house in order, starting a side hustle that does not interfere with family times. For instance, you can work it early mornings or late nights or when the kids are napping or when the kids are in school. So, um, okay, so providing or focusing on your family is the most important. Then we have the seasons of an empty nester. And a lot of females, I feel like it could go into one of two camps. A lot of females are like, this is great. I've got all this time in my hand. But then a lot of females are like so lost because they don't know what to do because they put themselves last all those years of child rearing that now when the kids are gone, they don't even know what direction to go into. They don't know what to do next or how to reprioritize their life, right? So by the time you're at this stage, you hopefully have a good idea what you want to do with the rest of your life. And it's okay if you don't. Like I said, a lot of females I talk to, you know, don't. And they were kind of like lost and fell into a little bit of a depression when the kids went off to college or moved out. So you can still plan. It's not too late. So that's the good news. This would be the perfect season to travel the world if traveling is your thing, or to paint the house because you're not going to have fingerprints all over again. I look around at my house and my 6 year old, I've got like fingerprints all over. Um, and I'm like, oh, I can't wait to paint, but I'm going to wait a few more years. So this is the perfect season to read all those books you've wanted to read, to join all those clubs and the book clubs maybe with your friends and meet friends for walks and lunch dates and do the things you've always wanted to do but you just didn't have the time for. And then there are special seasons in our life. Special seasons can be um, good circumstances or even bad circumstances, like an unforeseen divorce, right? I don't know how many of those are foreseen, right? Otherwise, you probably wouldn't have gotten married. But a divorce can throw you totally for a loop. Lots of stress, moving out of town, moving a job, a career change. While those are most of the times good things that you implemented, it's still a lot of stress on your body. You could be grieving the loss of a loved one. Maybe your parents, they're getting older. Maybe you have to move one of them in with you, both of them in with you, or maybe one or both of them into a home. That's also a very stressful season. So you just have to focus on getting through that season, relying on friendships, relying on self care. Like, do not in any stage put self care on the back burner, not in the child rearing phase, like I said before, and not in this special occasion like um, divorce, grieving the loss of a loved one, moving, a new career. Those are especially the times where you think you don't have the time, but those are especially the times that you really need to take time for yourself and work out and fuel your body with the best nutrients that you can possibly so you can show up every day and intentionally face the world and handle your stress and handle your problems. So, all right, so other seasons that can change your life, an illness, okay, God forbid, losing a child or a special needs child, those are all, again, so seasons that we can go through. I think also a season that we were all thrown into this year, 2020, and depending when you're going to be watching this, March 16th ish of this year, 2020, we were all forced into lockdown. And that forced a lot of people to be without employment, to not be able to go out and do things. As you know, stores were shut, everything was shut. I don't have to tell you, you know, you lived through this time period. And that forced a lot of us for inner reflection on what's really important in our life. And the silver lining in all that was that a lot of people realized they don't have to be, it's not all that to be running from activity to pick your kids up from school, drive them to soccer, drive them to music practice, do their homework, um, get their piano lesson in, whatever it is for you. That kind of period of reflection and slowing down, our priorities, I think, were, what's the word I'm looking for? Not realigned. They were always there, but we were forced to look at them and be intentional about our priorities instead of saying, yeah, I know that's more important, but I've got to do this. So we were forced to slow down and smell the roses, and a lot of people that were always on the go and eating out were forced to stay home and make meals, and there was more family time together. So there was a silver lining. Everything is how you look at it, right? Perspective is probably 90% of how we see our situations. And if you go back at that time, and we're still kind of in that time period now, although most places are open, you know, we decided, wow, we like being slow. And it's not, or it shouldn't be a badge of honor to be so busy and running in and out of our car doing all the things. So figure out what's important to you, right? And so don't forget self care no matter what season you're in. And that is it. Like I said, hold on, let me check. My child coming home from spring break. Boom. There you go. Yep. See, things can. Hey, Trish, thanks for hopping on. Um, so, yes, you always have to find a silver lining, and things are always going to be changed. I thought I was going to be an empty nester, and I found myself caring for my young granddaughter and then also taking my elderly father in. So, things change, work through it, and I'm telling you, I know it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, right? Self care, self care, self care, because that will help you through all the seasons and all the things. All right, friends, you are awesome. Go have an awesome day, and I will see you next week. Bye.